tea. Hi, this is my second vlog episode. Feel pretty dorky, but I'm gonna go with it. It's been 2 weeks somehow, 2 weeks and a day, because I planned to do them on Wednesdays, but there's been a whole bunch going on, so I didn't get it done. But I'm doing it today. My little list one is napping, my other one is not here until later, and my husband is out of town. Ooh, just kidding. But he's busy working, so I'm like, okay, let's do this in between work tasks and cleaning the house and tea. With a lovely mug that I got from my son and my husband for Mother's Day a few years ago. So much has happened. I feel like I haven't knit as much as I've wanted to or needed to, and I really need to. But a lot has been going on. So first, I finally finished this book, Knitlandia by Clara Parks, but being from England, I want to say Clara. It was a really good read. I thought there was going to be a vein, like traveling it together. I didn't realize it was like a bunch of like different little travel excerpts, but I thought that was super cool to read. Would like to read more things like that from somebody I follow on YouTube. I saw that there's a book about the history of wool in England, and she touched on it a little bit in her book, which I thought was really interesting because growing up over there, I remember that there was a lot of wool, but it's typically like Aran weights and DK weights, and it's a lot of like acrylic blends. So I was fascinated when I moved, well, not when I moved over here, because when we moved over here, my biological father bought me a whole bunch Red Heart and acrylic yarn and I have metal needles, so I would knit with it and it would squeak, and my tension was too tight because I used size 3 knitting needles with like whatever Red Heart is and the other ones that they had at Walmart. Airplanes going over, and like it would just hurt, put so much pressure on my wrists. It's a really loud airplane. So I kept knitting with some of the softer Karen yarns, but it wasn't until I was in college and I found my friend who owned Knit One Weave 2 at the time. I was like, ooh, real yarn, real wool. So it was really interesting to read that book and see a little bit more about her perspective of the knitting industry, especially since that's what she's known for. But yeah, yarn stores have definitely had their glow up. I know that's cringy, right? Because I'm too old to say that. But they've definitely improved since I've gone back home multiple times as an adult. Yeah, so that was a really good read, and I found that other book, so I'm looking forward to looking at that and trying to see if I can find it or order it through our secondhand bookstore, because I'm trying really hard not to use Amazon for book purchases because I've read horrible things. So even though I have got some really amazing books from them, I'm cutting down and want to support local as much as possible. So, on the go. One of my bags, and I didn't mean to, but it did. And I kept messing it up, which frustrated me, and then I realized why I was messing it up. And I was starting each row, since you're increasing throughout at the beginning and end of each row. Every time I would increase, I would think I needed to accommodate for 6 stitches, but the stitch pattern is only 5 because the yarn over K2 tog knit 3, and for some reason I kept putting 6 in, so I get halfway through the row, realize it looked wrong. I don't know why I kept waiting until halfway through the row to look at it, but it is slowly growing. I'd like to get that done soonish so I can wear it. Right now in Arizona, we are having unseasonably cold temperatures, which I'm absolutely loving, and I hope it stays like this, but it probably won't. A bunch of my vegetables actually went, well, not a bunch. Some of my broccoli went to seed, which made me sad, but my cauliflower is doing beautifully, and my lovely husband got me a lettuce table, which I have carrots, lettuce, chard, and something else in there, so I'm excited to see how that turns out. We had a really good orange. We had a really good orange harvest. The word harvest left my mind. So that's something I'm working on. Continuing with my spring break theme, I'm still knitting this. I got that when I was on spring break with my son and my husband and my daughter last year when we went snowboarding up at Mammoth. And then I have this that I got from Tempe Yarn and Fiber to complement it. It was going to be a cardigan from Rowan's Mode collection, but I decided it was a bit busy for a cardigan with the stripes and the print. So instead it's going to be a jumper of some kind, but I'm still using the Rowan pattern as kind of a guide for it. So stripes seems to be a new thing that I'm doing. Really want to try and do some tartan, but I realized that I kind of suck at winding my balls of yarn, even though I got everything to do it properly. I keep getting tangled in these weird little yarn babies that I have to keep pulling out, but it'll be fine. So this is one of my like no-brainer knits. I just knit 4 rows, no increasing, no real shaping at the moment, so it's a pretty lovely easy knit. So yes, it's from this book, which I love, and I'm making many things out of this and have made one already. I'm also making a Paddington bear. I got this wool in Portugal when I was back in England and Wales last year. And look, it's the cutest little teddy. I knit it in the round instead of back and forth because I don't like seaming, and with this type of yarn I'm sometimes really not good at it, and I get frustrated because I can't see and I want to make sure it's done perfectly. I think I may have not decreased enough stitches on this leg so it looks a little bit fatter, but who knows when I stuff it. So I've got that going on. I've got his head. When I was at the yarn shop, they only had the gray, and I decided that would do because I wanted to make a vintage looking Paddington instead of the more modern. And by more modern, you know, the ones from the 80s onward, but going for more of the 1950s to 1970s Paddington bears that were gray. So that's fun. More tea time, yes. I also finished knitting Timmy Time. He's not actually that small. He's about this size-ish, I think. But I finished knitting him, and now I'm just slowly sewing him together, and I'm actually like filming that process with hyperlapse because I think that'd be really boring for anybody else to watch other than me, but I'm really enjoying making that. It's from Knit Now, one of the Christmas editions, I think this past December, and so I'm slowly planning on making all of the characters throughout the year to have a Christmas display. One of the things I really want to do for our home is have more seasonal knitting decorations. So I have like a number of Easter eggs and like light colored hearts and things like that, but I'm trying to figure out a good way to display them to where the dogs don't eat them, the toddler doesn't run off with them. We also don't actually celebrate Easter like for the whole Christian purpose and things. Like it's more of a cultural celebration that we do, like just the memories growing up in England and doing little Easter egg hunts and things like that, but there's not any religious meaning behind it for us. So one of the things I've been doing, trying to focus more on a little bit, is like celebrating like the solstice and the equinox, the different things around the year and the seasonal changes. In Arizona, we don't typically have seasons. We have like warm and hot and hotter when you just cry and want to go back to England, but you can. So I really like trying to make sure that the kids are aware of when we have seasons and getting to celebrate the passage of time instead of just like letting the years pass by without realizing it. So those are my things that are on the needles. I have one thing that I really need to cast on, which is my daughter's dress that I'm making her for her birthday. I've not cast it on yet, and her birthday's in about 3.5 weeks, but I'm confident that I will get it cast on at some point. It's just been so much going on. One of the really cool things that happened this week was one of my knitting / biking friends. I wore this shirt today because of her. A couple years ago, I did the 12 Hours of Fury. I think it was a year before COVID happened, and me and my husband did it. I did one loop. I was kind of crap. But now there's the 6 hours of fury. She got a mountain bike. I got a mountain, well, I have a mountain bike. And so we went mountain biking this week on Monday, and it was overcast and beautiful. And she and I have knit together before, and we need to knit together again and soon. But so she's intrigued and possibly interested in doing the 6 hours of fury with me, which is like a single track mountain bike race. So you see how many laps you can get done. I don't know, it was interesting going back out on my bike. It was the first time that I've been on my mountain bike since I was 6 or 7 months pregnant. And I was not really mountain biking. I was more gravel riding at that time on my mountain bike with the suspension, which was quite lovely. But I miss it. And it's weird because during the whole like trying to conceive process and growing a baby, I was like, I don't know, I got kind of tentative and more so than normal. And it's interesting going back out the other day because I want to mountain bike again. And I don't know if it's because of the number of fatalities we have for road riding here, but I miss it. I miss it a lot. So I definitely want to get more mountain biking back in my life. I have a gravel bike now. I want to gravel bike more. I want to do some of the retreats and camps. And I'm actually also, I cut out a template that I created myself, and I'm going to try and make a handlebar bag for myself with plastic canvas and knitting, and so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about a lot of things right now. Life is kind of at a good spot, knitting as well. Yeah, so it's what I'm knitting, what my plans are, what I read. I need to take it back to the library because they've renewed it for me like 3 times now. Yeah, so I will link the different patterns below because I want to make sure that people get credit where credit's due. 2 of the knits are Rowan patterns, and then the Paddington Bear pattern is from Knit Now. I want to definitely make sure that that creator gets her credit, so if anybody else is interested in knitting a miniature Paddington Bear, they can have the resources to do so. So thanks, and next time hopefully the production quality will be a little bit better.